How's my hair?
What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Box Out Boys podcast. We are the NBA podcast of the people, your home for lukewarm takes and substandard analysis. I'm Titus Two Shots Dominguez, and with me, as always, it's Chris Good Hair Gorman. Hit it with the stats, Chris.
Hey! Did you guys hear today? Jerry West is going to be inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame for the third time.
As an executive?
First time as the NBA player, second time with the USA basketball team. This time, I think is like his. I forget what the quote was, but like his allegiance to the league, all of the work he's been doing outside, as an executive and consultant and whatnot.
Okay.
So congrats! First and only player to be inducted to the Hall of Fame 3 times. I just think it's such a weird thing that he's.
So they're gonna change the logo, right?
That's what's happening, right?
Oh, hey, we're gonna give you this, and then we're gonna change the logo to Kobe.
Yeah, we'll give you the third time, yeah. Ooh, and bringing that spicy take. It's the Lawn Ball Show. Bukowski, get that, Joe.
Good evening, gents. Welcome back.
Welcome back. Ooh, the Masters around the corner too.
Oh, hello,
Master.
The tomatoes are 10 inches tall, and the Masters are around the corner.
Boom.
It's a great
time of the year.
Great time of the year, boys. Well, we are excited because it is a great time of the year. Basketball is peaking right now. We got March Madness, which has been great, and then, of course, we're coming to the end of the season, getting ready for the playoffs. The NBA playoffs that's my time, man. I love it. We got a great show for you guys tonight. We're going to debate who can actually win this title. Going to that. Chris has an updated all-you-can-have-them team, which we're excited to hear about. He said it's a spicy one, so we'll see. And then rolling with our trend of TikTok trends, our boy's going viral right now with his Derrick Rose TikTok, so we'll get into that, the trend that's coming out. You can see there Joey's little new D Rose picture on the wall, looking good too. It's great. All right, guys. Without any further ado, playoffs are coming up quick here in another week or so. But we want to break down who can actually win the title. Who are the real contenders? Let's go ahead and start with you, Joey, on this one. How many real title contenders do you think there are? How many each conference? And then maybe who are some sleepers, dark horses, and who's your favorite?
Yeah, I think it's 3 real contenders.
Okay.
Nuggets for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy. Celtics for sure.
Mm-hmm.
My dark horse that I think is actually up there is the Clippers.
Okay, that's interesting.
I think the Clippers. Chris is putting his head down.
It's fine. Just keep going.
I don't hate that.
And then I think the maybes, the real close but not quite there. Timberwolves number 1 on that list, and then the Oklahoma City Thunder. I think you have to give them the respect of how they played all season, pretty consistent. Like they didn't have a flash, right? This isn't a flash, but
yeah,
they're not quite fully tested yet in the playoffs. Timberwolves a little bit more so than Oklahoma City, obviously, but I don't know. The Clippers, when I was kind of looking through it, just kind of feel like they've laid low all season, and they. I know at the beginning of the year we talked about, right, was the Harden trade a bust and all that stuff, and they've kind of just sneakily been really, really good. Kawhi's playing at normal Kawhi levels. Paul George has been really good. They've been playing. They're healthy. So I don't know. Just kind of felt like a sneaky team that's quietly just there. And I think for them that's kind of the best spot for them to be, because when people seem to talk about them, they seem to kind of fall into it and fill everybody's I don't know, self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Everybody says they're going to be injured or they're going to be hurt, and then they kind of do that. But I don't know. Top 2, I think, are clear favorites, right? It's Nuggets, Celtics, and then I think everybody else kind of falls down beneath that
somewhere.
Chris, you want to know why the Clippers are under the radar? Because in the last 26 games, this sad sack of a team is 13-13. I'm out. I'm out on the Clippers. I hate this team. The Paul George or the James Harden trade was fine. It was cool for like 20 games. The guy, he's averaging 16 points a game with the Clippers, and in recent games, I don't know if you've seen any, but he gets like 6 points, 9 points. Kawhi's tapered off. Kawhi's just not built to play 80 games a season. I'll go, but I am so completely out on the Clippers, and I think as I was thinking about this, I don't think a team in the East can win the finals.
Oh wow,
we want to. I kind of just completely switched directions.
No, I kind of like
this
it.
though.
But I think it's all West. We can talk about the West, but I don't think there's a team in the East that can. Milwaukee. Let's stop with let's talk about Boston later. But Milwaukee can't do it. Cleveland, Orlando, New York, Indiana, Miami, and then Philly. I know Embiid just got back. Great win against OKC.
That's not happening.
Without Shea.
I can't imagine any of those teams making it, and Boston's not going to win it for other reasons I can get into. But
I need to hear these reasons then. Well, hold on. Let's circle back on Boston because I do want to. I got some stats on there. But any other teams then? Do you think it's just the West? What is it? Who's your favorite in the West? And who do you think are the
Denver is the clear cut. That team, if Jamal Murray's healthy, if that team's all guns blazing, it's them. I genuinely like Minnesota just from a unbiased, can't really be unbiased standpoint. I'm actually scared about them playing New Orleans if even that happens. So I don't know what to make of that team. LA, Phoenix, and Dallas. Those are like the grouping with, because of their one guy in each team.
Yeah.
But that's kind of like a 2A, I guess.
Yeah.
Or 2. But so Denver, Minnesota, and then I don't care about OKC and LA Clippers. I'm done with them. Both of those teams. I don't care.
Surprising here. All right. Yeah. First, I'm going to give you guys my heart takes. So, I think the last show we were talking about this, or maybe it was off pod, and you guys were giving me shit that I was just going to bring the two teams, Boston and Denver, which I will. But I did do some homework. I was like, let me think about it. What are some other teams? I think Chris is right there with some of the teams he named. LA, Suns, and Dallas as having that one guy that could just go on a run. I would add Clippers and the Warriors to that group of whatever that grouping you would call the guys that could just get hot and can just, best player in the series type thing. I think there's that. I think there is a tier of the untested in Thunder, Wolves, maybe Pelicans there in the West. Bucks, I would also add into that other tier of the guys that could just get hot with Giannis. So, and Dame there, and then I think the real contenders are Boston and Denver, as we have pretty much discussed. Do you guys want to hear some numbers? I did do some deep dive into the numbers. So, if you guys are longtime listeners of the Box Out Boys, we love net rating here. Net rating is very predictive of who wins the finals. So again, I quickly look back at my notes. The past 23 years, including last year's Denver Nuggets win, there are only 7 teams in the last 23 years that have that were not in the that were not top 10 in both offense and defense. And I believe there's only 8 teams that were not in the top 5 net rating overall. But it's going to go into some of the numbers here I have for the teams that we are for this current year. So of those 7 teams that were not in the top 10 of both, 6 of those teams had Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan, LeBron James, or Steph Curry on their team.
That'll help.
So I think that kind of helps for, overcoming some issues. The other team was the Detroit Pistons in, 04 or whenever they won. Yeah. So pretty good. What else did I get here? Yeah. Okay. So 5 were not top 5 5 were not top 5 of the last 23 years. We're not top 5 in net rating. 2 of those teams were defending champs. And the other 3 teams were the Dwayne Wade led Miami Heat, last year's Denver Nuggets with Jokic, and the Mavs that beat the first iteration of the Miami Heat with LeBron and the Big 3. Also had Dirk Nowitzki. So some kind of outliers there. So based on that stats, I looked at the teams that are currently in the top 5 of the net rating. And I always extend this down to the top 6 because those 2 teams that won that were not kind of outliers were the number 6 Heat, and then the number 6 Nuggets. So Boston is number 1 far and away in net rating with 11.6 net rating. The Thunder are number 2 at 7.3. The T-Wolves are number 3, 6.8. The Nuggets are 5.0, and the defending champs at number 4. And number 5 is the Pelicans at 4.8. So of those 5 teams there, and number 6 is the Nuggets. So, or sorry, not the Nuggets, the Knicks. Not a lot of teams that we're kind of talking about as sleepers. Clippers aren't in the top 6, Bucks aren't in the top 6, Suns aren't in the top 6, Lakers aren't, Warriors aren't top. Kind of interesting there. Will a team that's really out of this thing make a run, or is it kind of going to be one of those top 2 teams Boston or the Nuggets?
It feels like reading those stats, like you got pretty thin quick with the Knicks, Pelicans.
Yeah.
We all like the Pelicans, but they can't in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not. It's not a thing this team I don't think is going to be able to do. They don't. It's the same reason I kind of want to get into why I don't think Boston can win it, because who's the number 1 on the Pelicans? Is it Zion? Is it Ingram? Even if it is one of those two, I don't know if I really trust them to kind of take them over the hump when it becomes a mano-a-mano situation. Maybe Ingram a little bit, but no, I don't know. I just don't see it.
Yeah.
Same thing why with
Boston.
Boston's different.
So then I did look at the offensive and defensive rating separately from the net. Who was top 5 or who was top 10 in both? Obviously, like I said, only one team essentially that didn't have a mega superstar all-time player has ever won the title in the last 23 years without being top 10 in both. So that left me with, I believe it is 4 teams. We'll start from the bottom. The Knicks are the lowest ranked team that is both top 10 in offense and defense. So I feel like they're a no. Obviously they've been hurt here for a while. Maybe if everybody was healthy, this would be a little bit different conversation, but I think that's a no. The next highest team is the 4th net rated team, the Nuggets, who are 6 and 10 in offense and defense, respectively. And then 2 is the Thunder, with a 3rd ranked offense and the 7th ranked defense. So that's very interesting. That made me kind of take the Thunder maybe a little more seriously, even though they aren't, have the experience, as we said. They don't have that. And then, of course, the number 1 team is Boston, who's number 1 in offense and number 3 in defense, and 11.6 net rating, which is ridiculous. What did I have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams in the last, going back to 85, have had a net rating over 11. 5 won the title, and the only thing that didn't is the 2015 and 2016 Spurs.
So the LeBron.
That's the LeBron coming back from 06 down 03, and the Spurs losing to the Thunder. The Spurs lost in the second round to the Thunder.
Okay,
that's weird, but yeah,
that's exactly what might happen to Boston. That's what's going to happen to Boston. Just
wow,
second round exit.
Okay, go ahead. No,
I had a question. Why? Okay, we're looking at MVP voting right now, right? They just did a straw poll on NBA.com. I don't have it in front, but I think it was Jokic, Luka, Shea, somebody else. I don't know, whoever, and then Jason Tatum. Why isn't Jason Tatum more in the MVP conversation when the Boston's on this historic net rating differential?
I don't know.
And, what's going on here?
I think there is a bit of you got to finish the deal here with Boston. They've made the finals 2 years ago. They've had a couple of conference finals runs. I think there is a little bit of we'll wait and see for these guys. I just think the numbers are starting to stack up to a point where I really think there's one team that can beat them. I think it's the Nuggets. I think because they have a better player overall in Jokic, and then just a defending champ with a top 5 net rating and top 10 in offense and defense. That's going to be tough to beat when it comes down to it. And I kind of agree with you that maybe Boston isn't going to do it, but I really think it's going to be if they run into Jokic, and nothing can happen with that. I think if they get the Thunder, if they get the T-Wolves, somebody like that, I think that's a win for them. But I don't know. Joey, what do you think, man? What are those numbers? Anything pop to you on those?
No, I think your point on the Celtics is probably the perfect one. It's like this isn't the first time we've seen this exact kind of like trajectory from them. I mean, maybe not as high as the net rating and right, but like they've had really successful regular seasons before, right? This isn't new. But they've seemed to have some trouble getting over the hump. And I think Chris, like to your point, like Tatum's not getting MVP votes because he's the best player on that team, but it's not like a clear shot. Like it's like a give and take, right? Like sometimes it'll be him and sometimes it'll be Jaylen Brown. And it's just kind of like this back and forth. Like the Nuggets, like, yeah, Jamal Murray is a close second, but no one is going to sit there and have a debate with you that Jamal Murray is more important than Jokic, right? Like you could probably find plenty of people who would sit and have that argument with you about Tatum and Brown. And judging by the fact that the Celtics gave Jaylen Brown as much money as they did, I think they'd probably find some room to agree with you there.
300.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's the faith in the Celtics, right? Like, can you put your stock in them based on what we've seen from them before? Like, does Kristaps Porzingis push you that far over the edge that you're like, all right, this team is just enough different that like now if they get in the same situation, like he's going to be the guy to pull them over the hill?
Him, Drew Holiday. I think maybe we forget about him a little bit too.
Yeah. I mean, Drew Holiday hasn't been great in the playoffs in his career.
Yeah. I mean, he's a good defender. He might not have to be,
That's
scorer.
the thing. Who's getting you a bucket when you need a bucket on this team? Is it Tatum?
It's Tatum. Tatum or Porzingis.
Is it getting a bucket or is it trying to get you the bucket? Like that's
no. I give you the ball. You give the ball.
We need a bucket. Yeah.
You get Luka. There's a guy on every team. Anthony Edwards. Hell, even the Bulls go to DeMar, right? Like,
right.
I think DeMar's a more reliable bucket getter than. No, I'm just speaking.
I don't know if we need to bring up the Wolves, and they have like one of the worst fourth quarter offenses.
Now,
I don't know. I should look it up against the top 5 teams of the league because they seem to
rock against those guys.
I guess like to wrap it up, like put the package on it. Like if the Nuggets weren't the Nuggets the way they are, you would say the Celtics hands down, and there wouldn't be much of a debate. And I feel like part of the reason that there's this question mark about the Celtics because everybody's assuming at some point they're going to run into the Nuggets.
Yeah.
And what happens when that series comes? Like, who on the Celtics is matching up with Jokic?
Yeah.
Right. You put Kristaps on him. You're going to put Luke Cornett like out there. Like, what are you going to do? Right. So I kind of think like, they're going to be playing this game, and we've seen the Nuggets that are one of the best teams and kind of like, hey, let's slow it down. And, it's a less paced game. And like, they're perfectly comfortable if Tatum goes out and scores, 10 unanswered points. Like they're just going to keep kind of chugging at it and let somebody shoot their way out of it. So
yeah, they have defenders against Tatum too,
Yeah. So it's kind of like if we didn't have the Nuggets, I think it'd be the Celtics. But when you have to look at it that way, it's like, well, is anybody getting past Denver? I don't think so.
All right. I think we've come up to a nice spot. I think we all agree it's probably Boston or the Nuggets, but nobody really wants to bet against the Nuggets right now.
No.
Yeah, it's Nuggets. That's it. If it's not the Nuggets, it's kind of shocking. Like if Miami beats Boston, I wouldn't be surprised. New York, you could even beat Boston, but beyond that,
now we're just making things up. Now,
if Miami beats Boston,
Miami beat them last year.
The greatest
I know last year, but they're not beating them this year. Boston, if Boston doesn't make the finals, I would be shocked.
Okay,
no, coach is fired.
Well, who'd be more shocked if the Celtics don't make it or if the Nuggets don't make it?
So the Celtics.
Okay.
Murray's kind of injured. I mean, like he still, isn't back right now. I think there's better teams in the West. You know what I mean? Like Thunder, Wolves, Pelicans. There's Clippers. All these guys that are in there. So I could see that them just catching a wrong matchup.
Just because of the competition.
Yeah, the competition. The East is wide open. Well,
sad.
Yeah, it's just that should be a cakewalk for Boston most of the way.
Should be.
All right, boys, that was a good one. Now let's get into Chris, who's got some heat apparently.
So let's just go over the You Can Have Them Adam team. As we've been doing this yearly, although I couldn't find my list from last year. Every year I do a top 5 of players who are very good players. I think everyone, at one time at least considered getting their jersey or hat. That jersey is very high in jersey sales. But when I look at them, it's kind of like, you know what, you can have him. I don't want him anywhere near him. In years past, I'm going to talk about the 2022 roster was De'Aaron Fox, Zach LaVine, Michael Porter Jr., Pascal Siakam, and Clint Capella. Solid guys, role players.
Yeah.
A lot of them. Porter Jr., bad pick.
Yeah.
Bad pick. Yeah,
bad pick.
But De'Aaron Fox, he kind of turned it around a little bit. I think that's a bad pick too. I'd rather have De'Aaron Fox in a lot of cases, even though maybe the Kings are kind of a. We didn't even talk about the Kings in the last segment, right? That was the one team we
didn't mention them.
But yeah, other than that, like the players were okay. LaVine, we can get to LaVine a little bit later. But yeah, so 2 years ago, I had Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Tobias Harris, who was my favorite player, to have Nikola Vucevic. And then Andre Drummond. Ironically, Vucevic and Drummond would then play on the Bulls a year later. So
and LaVine.
That's cool.
And LaVine Powers.
The Bulls are the all you can have them team, man.
They really did it. I mean, I had DeMar. I had DeMar somewhere on this list. I couldn't find that
bench or something, right? 6
man. He was probably on the bench.
He was probably a bench guy. So that's where I had today. I have a new all you can have them with 5 teams. Right. The one that I did at here. All right, starting at point guard for my all you can have him. I've been dying to put him on this list for years. I think he's been consistently overrated for a long time. He has not been in the playoffs in 3 years. He's doing whatever he can. Well, no, they're gonna make it no matter what. But it's Damian Lillard.
Yep, I kind of have to agree with this one.
He is. The one other set we all know his stats. He's an offensive machine. He made he beat Paul George once. That's his one time past the second round. But for the last 6 years, he's had a consecutive negative defensive box plus minus. So it's when they take the number of possessions on the defense and they kind of correlate them over 100 possession, get an average. Always negative. Always a negative defender on the court. Put in perspective, Stephen Curry's at least even every year. He's a 0.0.
Yeah.
But typically, you want to be positive. So I think Drew Holiday is like a 3. But anyways, Damian Lillard, tough defensive player. Any rebuttals? I'm trying to get better players to get some rebuttals.
Yeah.
But
that
Damian
one
Lillard, I might have been like 6 months too late on. What do you guys?
Yeah, I think that's maybe the only thing is that after this sort of the Bucks run, there were 17 here in the defensive rating, according to my notes. So
this season,
yeah, I think this is going to be one everybody's going to be okay with after this season. Like prior to this season, I think it would have been a really hot take, maybe a little bit like, "Ooh, you know what? I don't know, man. That's questionable." But what do you think, Joey?
My hot take is Damian Lillard retires at the end of this season.
Whoa, wow. Whoa, okay. What?
Dude hates playing in Milwaukee. He's like straight up come out and said that he hates it. Like
he wants to. You mean he'll retire? He'll go play somewhere else.
No, I think he's gonna call it quits. Like I don't know. He seems to really want to go back to Portland and his family, which is perfectly fine.
That's interesting.
I just think like does this like 6 month to 8 month stretch that we've seen from him, how much does that relate to being unhappy? And he doesn't strike me as the kind of guy who like necessarily cares that much. Like he's on top 75, like he's got his accolades. Like I feel like I could see him just being like,
he's a top 75 all time.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot he made the list.
Yeah, like I could see him walking away and just be like, I'm good.
I'm good.
So
wow, interesting. He is 33.
I agree. I think it fits with this. Yeah, I mean it's not that far fetched.
All right. I'll get a little spicier with this one. Maybe. I don't know. I usually like this guy more than you guys do. At center, I have 2 centers. I cheated, but at center, I got Domantas Sabonis.
Oh, wow.
He's a triple-double machine.
Yeah.
Putting up one of the best seasons I've ever seen of a center. Before Jokic, there was no one that you thought could actually win a championship with this kind of player.
Oh.
Domantas Sabonis is that step down from Jokic.
Yeah.
I don't think you can win with Sabonis. If you watch the Kings, they are one of the fastest teams in the league because they've one of the slowest players in the league, who also doesn't care to try to block a shot or do anything. He is, on average, if you go to the paint on him, he'll block your shot 1.5% of the time. To put that in perspective, even Nikola Vucevic is at 2.5.
Yeah.
Gobert, put in top perspective, is 5.5. I forgot. I wanted to look up Wemby, but it's probably like 8 or 10 or something crazy.
Something up there.
Point is, Sabonis, you can just get to the paint whenever you want on him. He's a turnstile, and the way that the Kings are set up, they're not even positioned to help him on on the bench. They just leave him out to dry. Such an offensive. So Domantas Sabonis, I don't want him on the Bulls. If he came to the Bulls, I would be not excited. Just like Vucevic all over again. So Domantas Sabonis.
That's a good one. I like that. I don't hate it, Joey.
No, I don't hate it either. Your case is good. I think it's more of like he doesn't impact winning, right? Like
it's spicy though.
Like, but that's the point of this team, right? Like, hey, you're a good player, but you don't actually like.
He's leading the league in rebounds.
You don't result in the team being better. So I think
he's the lead. He is a better team, but there's such a clear ceiling with it.
Yeah.
It's like you can have him. Exactly. He's a perfect you can have him player. Yeah. He's great.
He's kind of.
I'd rather
he's Vooch 2.0.
Yeah. He's a better Vooch.
My best player that I have on this all you can have him list this year is one-time MVP. It is a Joel Embiid.
Wow.
I don't care anymore. I was looking up this a lot. He's 29 years old, and looking at his games played, 35 this season, 66 last. Just got over the hump, even though it's the 65 thing is new this year. 68 the year before, 51, 51, 64, 63, and 31. The guy doesn't play. He doesn't play. When he does, he's dominant. He's Shaq-esque. But I don't trust. And also in the playoffs, he hasn't really proven it. So even getting him back for the playoffs, great job, Philly. But you're still going to lose in 5 to Miami in round 2.
They're losing round 1 to Boston.
Joel Embiid. I don't know. Would you guys be excited if he came to the Bulls? I honestly still wouldn't be.
I would be excited about that.
I would too.
But I would be delusional and trying to talk myself to the fact that, well, he's going to be healthy now. And if we get a healthy Embiid, we have an MVP, best player in the league type of guy. This is great. And then I would be heartbroken every year when he plays.
This is fun. Yeah.
I think I'd be more excited at the prospect of the fact that the Bulls finally got like a name.
Yeah.
And not so much that like, oh man, we're for sure like, top 3 now in the East. Like it'd be more of like, damn, they finally did it. They finally managed to get a guy that actually people know about and like care about. But so I guess it fits. You can have him because it would be for the wrong reasons.
Yep.
Yeah.
Shooting guard. We also hate Philly, right? Though I mean Philly.
And I don't want to beat.
Yeah. City of bullshit. Broken
promises. Broken promises, broken dreams. Fuck
shooting guard. This feels obvious. So I had some troubles with my my wings.
Okay.
I'm gonna list the 2 obvious ones. James Harden back on the list. Congrats, buddy. You've gotten good enough.
Yeah.
I feel like to be back here. Zach LaVine. Those are my 2 obvious ones. Where I'm like,
those are 2 obvious.
You only played 23 games this year, guys, and he averaged 19.5 points. Are we concerned for the next 3 years at 43, 45, and 48 million a year? I don't know. It's scary. Those are my worst ones. Other ones to consider. Bradley Beal seemed even worse. That's too obvious.
Yeah.
But really, I've been playing around with this one. I ended up putting him off. But what do you guys think of Paul George? He's 34 years old. You think he should be here? Like
no,
would you like to have Paul George? Because that's where I'm like, he's never really done much in the playoffs. He's 34 years old. Looking at this Clippers team, he's averaging 23 points, win or lose. He's not really been a difference maker. He's been that steady guy, which you need. But still, Paul George getting up there and like, I'm kind of.
I don't think there's enough guys that would want him for the justification. I got some names for you though. Now just kind of sitting here. I got a name for you.
Okay,
and I want to throw it out there. Kevin Durant.
Ooh. Yeah, he
hasn't been good since Golden State. Like he's had great teammates.
He has been
dominant, but like he hasn't been a guy that can win you a title.
Man, that's a good one.
Brooklyn wasn't
like if you get Durant, you don't really feel exactly right. Like you're saying.
The Suns, I mean, like if the Bulls got Durant tomorrow, would you guys be like, "Oh my God, we're instantly title contenders," or would you think, "All right,
let's see how
this goes"?
I mean, a year ago you were right.
A year ago I was. Yeah, exactly. I'll say that.
What about? I don't know about this. So Kevin Durant, I kind of agree with, but what about LeBron James?
I think he's too old.
He's too old because I still feel like if he went to someone's team, they would feel like they have a real legitimate.
I mean,
shot
if you
to
went to
win
like
it.
the Thunder or something, yeah, I think you'd be like, all right, they should win the title next year.
If you went to Cleveland, I think they could win the title.
It's got to be the right team with the right space in terms of like money. I think it's the same thing with like Paul George, right? Like Paul George goes to like a middle of the pack team, like that contract is crippling that team. Same with like LeBron, right? But if he goes to like an Oklahoma City where the payroll's pretty cheap and they've got space to fit it in without like having to, drastically change everything and hamstringing them for like the future, I think it works.
Would
but,
you
like,
be?
the
What do you
Bulls,
think?
no,
Okay,
like, I don't
should
want
OKC
Durant.
get LeBron or Paul George?
If it was between the two, I would get LeBron.
I would take LeBron too.
Yeah, right. So I think Paul George is more on the you can have him then, and Kevin Durant or LeBron on OKC.
I feel like
I would go LeBron.
I'd go LeBron too.
Okay, so I think the Paul George, Kevin Durant's kind of the.
All right, we can go there.
Bradley.
Did you have another player?
I did have another player. Same team, Devin Booker.
Yeah, I had him on. I thought that was too obvious almost. I should have said
it might be, but I'm kind of curious. Like they're another team where it's just like kind of like the Dame situation where this year brought to light some of the stuff where it's like, all right, they have these two superstars on this team that are, I mean, yeah, I know that they've been hurt and they haven't played a lot together, but that's part of it too. At some point, it's like, hey, what are we doing here? You guys aren't, you've built two super teams and Durant stuff, and Booker, like they had a great team in the Suns and then he got Durant and they still aren't getting it done. I don't know. At some point, is there a little bit of like, all right, you can take him, I'll take somebody else. You know what I mean? I'll take Jamal Murray or I'll take, one of these other guys that you'd rather have on your team, a Brunson or something.
Donovan Mitchell? I think I'd rather Book.
I'd rather Book than Mitchell, but
yeah. I'm trying to think of another example for like. Yeah, Booker. It's just because like, Luke is his daddy, and he doesn't really show up when it matters the most. So it kind of just feels like.
Yeah, it feels like maybe
He's
Durant's
kind of a beta.
Spicier.
Like, he's a beta. He's Beta was the first name again. He's a sidekick guy. And Booker and Durant are both sidekick characters, and they need that Batman, right? And they just don't. Like Bradley Beal's not the Batman.
Yeah, Bradley Beal's not Batman.
What if
Chris Paul was kind of helpful? Yeah.
What if we just put like the Phoenix Suns in there?
Organization?
Because it's like it's Beal.
They have to sell the team.
You can have them, right? It's Booker. You can have Durant. Yusuf Nurkic. He's been better this year than I think everybody kind of expected him to be. But
yeah,
did you know Bradley Beal is going to make $50 million next year?
50?
Incredible.
With a 5-0?
Making 46 this year. He's going to make 50 next year, 53 and 25, 26.
They're not winning shit.
I would want
their option for 26, 27 at 57 million.
So they signed Levine at a bargain. Yeah,
Levine's a deal. There you go. Levine. That's how you look at it, I guess.
Beal has an All-NBA though, probably, right?
He must.
He must have made All-NBA.
I think he probably snuck into third team.
Yeah,
somewhere
with one of those Washington years.
One of those years where he was scoring like crazy. Okay, that's good. I think all of those are valid entries. So we can pick one to start and then put the rest on the bench.
All right, so Booker's a great six-man.
Booker's a six-man.
Love it.
We should do a 5 and a 6. So are we going to do
we have Damian Lillard, Paul George, Kevin Durant, Joel Embiid, Domantas Sabonis.
And Booker's your 6-man.
Booker's the 6-man. Bradley Beal's right in the bench.
I like it.
It's perfect.
Yeah, I think that's good enough. We don't. I don't want to hate her. Oh, Kevin Durant. Oh no, Kevin Durant was the starter. All right. This is probably the best list we've ever had. I'm excited for this one because Clinton Capella, being one of the guys, was kind of weak. So
weak sauce that year.
I like to see. Is Kevin Durant still relevant a year or two from now?
I think he will be. Do either of these guys? If we update this every 2 years, do any of these guys win a title in the next 2 years?
No.
That's
crazy.
That's
man.
Crazy.
We are just thinking it's just going to be Denver. That's the only team. That's
Denver. Well, I mean, it would have to be Milwaukee, the Suns. I don't think the Kings. The Clippers could, I guess. And the Sixers, if Embiid is healthy next year, maybe. But that's the point. It's not healthy.
Not healthy.
That's the point.
And Speaking of not healthy,
Oh,
ow!
it
wow.
he segues right themselves, boys.
Jeez, that's unacceptable.
That was that was rough. Well, our boys going viral on the
I can't
TikTok
believe we did
trend.
that. I
Where you're
can't.
supposed to ask your significant other. Well, just explain this, Chris. What's the
So
TikTok?
Caitlin found a video of a guy that just said, "Just go to your man and ask him about prime Derrick Rose, and you'll see a side of him you've never seen before."
We did.
And when Caitlin stitched that to me, when I really thought about the question, I turned away and I turned back. And before I could even speak, Caitlin's like, "I get it." She turned off the video and posted it. And then we've seen 60,000 people so far understand it too.
Yeah.
Just to see what's going on there.
It was a tough one. Joey, if you were asked the question, the TikTok trend, tell me about prime Derrick Rose, what would be what would just come out of your mouth? What would spill?
What would spill would be, I would start to be like, oh, well, and then I would just stop. And I feel like it's happened, right? Because you want to be like, well, here's all the positive things, right? Here's all the great things that you missed. And then you just stop and you're like, but none of those things matter.
Those things matter.
Or some of those things just didn't happen.
None of those things ever turned into what they were supposed to.
None of those things matter. That one hurt really bad right there. None of those things matter.
Right. And
I remember all the good things.
Youngest MVP in history. Like, right, that would be one of the first things. Hey, prime Derrick Rose, this guy was the youngest MVP in history. And he said at the beginning of the season, why not me? But did it matter?
No.
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 Be happy that it happened. But also, there was so much potential, I think.
Yeah. I think that's go ahead.
It's like when you talk about Derrick, you talk about like the aggressiveness and like the demeanor that he had, of how it was like so different, and you think about like the All-Star game where the Heedle dumbasses were like dancing and D Rose is kind of standing there and all these things, hitting game-winning shots and just having that stoic look on his face. I know that's one of Chris's favorite D Rose moments, when Joakim Noah picks him up from behind and D Rose just has no smile if he just hit a game buzzer beater. And you think of all of that, but then you also think about like the way that team was built around him and the way that they were set up, of like him being the super aggressive, can make anything happen at any time. And then they had good players, they had good wings, and they had, Carlos Boozer maybe isn't like everybody's top of mind favorite player, but like in that system that they had, it worked really well. Like he was an aggressive, get that Joe. They had it built right. And I think
Joakim,
like when he went down, you just kind of think about like he was the engine that made it all run, right? And like teams aren't built like that anymore. They're also not built around guys that are like heart and soul. And the story, I think, too, for Derrick Rose is like you can't overlook the draft odds scenario and
Chicago.
He's from Chicago. Like the whole story of everything behind it is just, it's the perfect sports thing.
Till it wasn't.
And it had one of the absolute worst sports things that had that, like, it's got to be one of the worst NBA sports, one of the worst NBA like stories.
It's the worst, right? Like at least Bill Walton got a title. Grant Hill was the comparison, but Derrick Rose is better than Grant Hill.
Yeah. I mean,
the 90s.
I think it was done with the 90s. I think what I thought about after we knew we were going to talk about this today, the thing I thought about was he was the first guy since Jordan. As much as I rag on Jordan, I talk about that shit. Jordan was a special player and a guy that made you feel like you were in competition for it every single year. And we haven't had a player like that since or after Derrick Rose. But Derrick Rose was that guy that made you feel like, okay, this is special. He's a special player. We can, like you said, we can build around him and he can be the centerpiece of this thing. And that was going up against the Heatles and going up against, the Bostons, the Celtics of that era. But he was doing it. You know what I mean? He had Joe and, the bench mob and all these guys with him, and it was fun. And then when it went away, it just felt like, okay, the specialness is gone. And even though we have, good players in Levine and DeRozan and stuff now. It's just not the same where you feel like we got that guy. And I don't think we haven't had that guy since Jordan and until Rose, and we haven't had a guy since Rose.
It's like kind of crazy. You were saying, like when he went down, it just wasn't the same. But like when he came back, they were still good, and he was good. And then it happened again. Like we forget that there was another knee, right? Like, everybody remembers the first one, but there was a second one, and then there was another knee injury.
Blocked it all out.
And like too much time had passed, right? Like they lost their window. The window was that like 2.5, 3 year span, and half of it was wasted on him not being able to play.
Yeah.
But I mean, do you guys have a favorite D Rose moment? Do we want to share them? Do you guys have one?
I think it's that shot for me, the one you talked about where Joe lifts him up and he does the game blouses. I just because that was the Celtics series, right?
Yes.
That I just think that's the one I remember the most because I think that was probably what their first conference finals run or the one conference finals run.
The one they had,
but it was before they were really,
it
was before they were really good. That was his MVP year, right? Correct, if I'm remembering.
Yeah,
2011.
That series because Boston was still really good at the time. I think they had lost Ray Allen, but they were still, kind of that championship swagger, and to kind of
because it was 2 years after the first. The first Celtics playoff series where he set the record for the most points scored in the first playoff game. Yeah.
And it was just, I don't know. It just felt like that was like a special moment for me that I always remember. Like that was that great series of dude, we got him. And then it felt like it was our time.
Chris?
I got nothing else to say.
I'm done.
I've been looking at this a lot. I've just been going through his stats. It's just, when he was MVP, and then the next year I just remember feeling like, okay, they just went down 4-1 to the Heat. Everyone thinks that like, oh, see, LeBron's better. It's like, no, Derrick Rose, he's gonna prove it next season. He got a little hurt. He only played 39 games that year, and it's just that I think that's where like and then obviously the injury happened, which just keeps going through my head as him falling and me thinking like, oh, he'll be all right.
Yeah.
Oh, he wasn't all right.
He was never the same again. And I hate Thibs. I hate Thibs, but I have a gut in my side because of him. There's just a stone in my soul just sitting there because of Tom Thibodeau and him having to play Derrick Rose for 35 minutes for 81 games. It's just like this guy's a fragile little bean. You gotta take care of him, otherwise he's gonna be gone before you know it. And the craziest thing is the fact that he's still playing at age 35.
Yeah,
the resilience of this man has been underappreciated, but
he's coming back, but he's not that guy. Joey, you got a moment that sticks out to you?
Yeah, I remember the game 3 buzzer beater 3-point shot over the Cavs. I forget what year, but off the inbound, they ran a screen for him. He came off, it was like right side, and he just lifted up, and it was Tristan Thompson was in his face, and fully extended, and he drained it right as it hit, and it was just they were tied 1-1. They went up 2-1.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing that.
And then there's also the dunk over Dragic, which is just still one of my favorite. It's just filthy. It's unreal.
And I think the thing is now though, and I mentioned this with you guys a little bit before the pod, but like I kind of want to talk about there's no other guy 6'3" dunking like this. We had Nate Robinson. We had Ja. He hasn't played this year. There's just nothing like it when you see this tiny dude just go up there
challenging 7'2" guys. I mean, it's
I don't know if we'll have that again because there's really no one in college that does this anymore. Everyone's just shooting threes. No one's dunking like this anymore, and everyone's got their own trainers. There's a whole bunch of stuff. But anyways,
did you guys see Gilbert Arenas' little clip that was floating around about he thinks D Rose is an MVP member, hands down.
Hall of Fame?
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, Hall of Famer.
Maybe.
I think he'll get in.
His reasoning was you can't overlook the youngest MVP. Like we've seen it, right?
Yeah,
I think it's hard to deny that. And he also was like, it's really hard to deny the fact that this guy had to change the way he played. Like most players would have just been like, you know what, like I'm hanging it up. Like after the Knicks and the Pistons runs, like I'm done. And he's changed his game and done so much to keep playing. So, like, you know, it's a Jerry West kind of thing. Like, hey, your dedication to the league. But
yeah,
I don't know. I think it's going to be tough. I think the resume is hard. I mean, the MVP is the moment. And the plays are spectacular, but like the overall like body of work compared
He's
to
only a 3-time All-Star.
Yeah, that's
because Rookie of the Year, MVP, and you're not going to put him in, it would look weird.
He would get in as one of those where people go, we know who this guy was supposed to be. And yeah, the stats aren't behind it, but for 2 years or 3 years, whatever it was, he was one of the best players in the league. And
I'm afraid he'll get in when it's too late for like us to remember it, or it's too late for him to like remember it.
Why? Because we have Alzheimer's, or
yeah, exactly.
No,
like we're gonna be old.
I think. I mean, he's what? Probably got another 5 years at most. Not even.
Yeah, I meant more of like they'll do like one of those posthumous entries kind of things.
No, if he gets in, he'll get in. I think he'll get in fairly.
That's why I didn't want to entertain that. I mean, if we think who's more likely to retire at the end of the season, Derrick Rose or Damian Lillard?
Damian Lillard, obviously. I got to stick to my take.
Off the hot sheets, Joey's got he's gone. Wrapping it up. Well, that was a fun note.
We can watch highlights now.
You can watch highlights. Well, on that said note, that is it for us tonight. Follow us on social media at The Box Out Boys. Slide in those DMs. Watch our TikToks, please. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review on YouTube and Spotify. I very much appreciate that. There it is.
Okay. We don't need this right now.
It's just until next time. Box out.